Guys, this is Christopher Key with S.W.A, giving you the video proof of us working with the University of Alabama when they played LSU for the national championship. In this photo right here, this is right after the game. This is Courtney Upshaw, the defensive MVP, and Andre Hubbard with me after the game. Right here we got DJ Fluker and me after the ball game. The offensive MVP, A.J. McCarron, after the ball game. And this is Alex Watkins after the ball game. Alex is a young man that called the first meeting in Tuscaloosa on Thursday, the week before the championship game. And I went into his apartment, and we had many of the defensive players there. And we'll go in and watch this video here. In this first video, the guys ask who's the strongest young man, and they say Upshaw, Courtney Upshaw, the defensive MVP. But he did not come up initially, but you'll see him in the second video. So here it goes.
Who's the strongest?
And in this video, you've got Alex Watkins, Andre Hubbard, Courtney Upshaw, Ed Stinson, and many of the other
Strongest guy in here? Courtney, come here. Well, who's the strongest guy? You next strongest guy? You have a cell phone with you? Let me see your cell phone real quick. Guys, I can take this cell phone right here, okay, and I can put it behind you. And I can make a phone call to this cell phone. And what will happen? It will ring, okay, of this cell phone. There's frequencies all around here that are going through our bodies, okay, and they affect you guys very negatively, okay. So imagine when you guys are playing Monday night in New Orleans. You got 100,000 people there. Most of those people have cell phones, don't they? So can you imagine the frequencies from those cell phones going back and forth? They're all over the place. And they affect you guys, okay? So this can help you guys, okay? I want you to come right over here. I want the guys to see you. Put your cell phone down. Put it. Okay, I'm going to take my hand. Hold your arm just like that. I'm going to take my hand right here and I'm going to press down. You resist me on 3. Be as strong as you can, okay? Okay? 1, 2, 3. Pretty sad, okay? I'm not going to do anything different. Okay, I'm not going to do anything different, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cell phone and I'm just going to put it on your chest. And I want you to do what you just did. Okay? You ready? You sure? No, you're not. I want you to take a big, deep breath. Now I want you to really man up, okay? You good now? Okay, now hold your arm up. Same hand, everything you got on 3, okay?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Come here, I want you to do it again. Come here.
Okay, I went through all the testing with those guys to start with. They were very much blown away with it. They then called a second meeting. Oh, actually, let me show you Courtney Upshaw. So now here comes Courtney.
For every action, there has to be an equal opposite reaction. Okay? Put your cell phone down. Okay.
Here's Courtney Upshaw.
Now everything you got on 3, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Come back, come back. Now look, I want you to get a good stance, get pissed off, and man up to me, okay? Well, man up, though. Hold your arm up. Everything you got on 3, okay? 1, 2, 3.
He said that stuff works, okay? These guys then called a second meeting, and in that second meeting, we had Chance Warmack, Jeremy Shelley, and then all the same guys and some more guys. In that meeting, I met with Jeremy Shelley off to the side, and I told him, do not wear the band. I said, if Coach Cox saw the band, they'll make him take it off. It was very ironic that he started the ball game, had the band on, and by the end of the game, he did not have the band on. and if you remember, he missed 2 out of his last 3 kicks. Okay, we've got audio of all this. I'm not going to go over that unless you want to come back and hear that. We then had the ball players wanted me to come to New Orleans. I went down to New Orleans, and we then had a third meeting in New Orleans. And in this video here, you'll see Michael Williams, the starting tight end. You got Darius Hanks, number 15. There's Alex Watkins. And there's some other receivers here in the background. Let's play this.
All kind of frequencies going back and forth over the dome. Okay, I can take this cell phone, put behind him, and make a phone call to your cell phone, and it rings. Doesn't it? That frequency just went through his body. That affects all you guys negatively. And the cool thing is we can alter that. Okay, now watch this. Come over here. Left to right arm strong. Left to right arm like this. 2 fingers right here. You resist on 3. Okay, everything you got. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now relax. The cool thing is for y'all to do this test. That's when it really showed you when you went home and started doing it on your dad, right? Because when you do it on each other and you feel what happens, it scares you. Now I'm going to do nothing different but take 1 finger. I'm going to apply less pressure, but I'm going to take his cell phone and I'm going to put it up against his chest. Now come back. Now, I mean, everything you got. Get a good stance and man up, okay? Hold on. Hold on. Everything you got. He did a good job. 1, 2, 3. Move it. Okay. You feel what happened? You couldn't stop it? No. I mean, you couldn't hold it up like you did before? No. Now.
Okay, I have many other videos of the ball players coming into my room and going over all this with them. That should be enough proof for you guys to see that we worked with the University of Alabama. You guys have already seen the other videos of where we worked with the University of LSU 6 weeks ago. This is a recap of everything. It's 8 minutes long, and then that should tell the rest of the story. So here we go.
Guys, it's Christopher Key with SWAT. I'm here today, January the 9th. You can see the title of USA Today, the time for the title. The game will be played later on tonight. I want to bring everybody up to date on why I'm here and what's going on. If you watched any of my previous videos, you saw where I put out there that we had met with the LSU defensive team, and a couple hours before the game, we at SWATs predicted that LSU defense would hold Trent Richardson to under 100 yards, and the defense would be the deciding factor. That all came to pass, and that became true. We also put the video out there that we felt like Alabama was a better team, and if everything worked itself out, they would get a second chance to revenge this loss. That's come to pass. 2 days after meeting with the LSU team, I got a message from Coach Moffitt. And Coach Moffitt, in his message, and I'll put this out there if anybody wants to see it, says, I have spoken to our players and the NCAA. I sent copies of our exchanges to the NCAA, and I told you, leave me alone. Now I'm telling you to leave our players alone. Do not contact them again, and do not send them any packages. This was from Coach Moffitt. It's really sad, and I hit him back and told him I've talked to some of his players also, and you're welcome. You may not believe in this stuff, but your defense sure does. And he told the kids they could no longer utilize the chips. But they did utilize them against Arkansas. And he found out about it again. So he called a team meeting and told the players that our chips as SWATs have anabolic steroids in them. And that if any of the kids wear the chips, they will fail a drug test. And this is so sad because we know there's no anabolic steroids in the chips. And I sent messages to all the young men at LSU telling them, look, guys, use your brains. If they are anabolic steroids in the chips, all the Auburn players would have failed drug tests last year. The Alabama players would have failed drug tests 2 years ago because they tested teams after they win the national championships. So, guys, he's lying to you. You know, you do what you have to do, but we know there's no anabolic steroids in the chips. They did not wear them the first half, and as you remember, they did not have a first down in that ball game. I hit a bunch of the kids up again and said, what are you guys doing? My understanding, they put the chips back on, went out, and blew the doors off Georgia. Again, I want to repeat that these chips do not make you win ball games, but it gives you a competitive advantage. And Coach Moffitt found out that this had happened a third time, that they put the chips on against his will because these young men thought for themselves. In the message I sent him, if I can read it to you, I said, I called the NCAA too, and they said they have no records of any exchanges, and they did not know what you were talking about. I said, you do not own these players, and I can talk to them if I want. We still live in America last time I checked. Your players will continue to buy our products because the defense knows they work. So I'll send out their packages. It is not against any NCAA rule for the guys to buy our chip spray and leaf and bands. He didn't like that very much. And when he found out the young men utilized the chips in the national championship game, he then proceeded to lie to the young men and tell them that they had a special test and that if any of the ball players utilized the chips up until the national championship game, that they could test these young men and they would not play in the national championship game. Coach actually told the ball players they had a special test and they could tell whether or not they were using the chips and they would not play in the national championship game. This is so sad. But the really cool thing happened is I was able to get back in touch with my Alabama players and was able to go down Thursday and meet with a bunch of the ball players at one of the young men's apartments and was able to go over all this with the young men. Was able to sit them down and explain to them what is going on here. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama. We took this technology to Alabama 3 years ago. Met with Dr. Bishop, met with my old professor, the head of the kinesiology department, Dr. Joe Smith, and they were blown away with this. So much so that they did double-blind placebo studies to prove that this technology is real, that it does help with muscular endurance. And I was able to talk to these young men about this. I was able to get them to buy chips and use them, and they called me back and said, man, this stuff is amazing. It works. I said, of course it does. So they asked me to come down here for the national championship game so I could proceed to talk to the rest of the young men. And that's what I've been able to do, is meet with most of all the ball players on the Alabama team, and we have got all these young men on board with what it is we're doing. And you will notice a very large difference in the national championship game. What we hoped to have happen was for both teams to get on board so we could level the playing field and see the two teams compete at the highest level, because that's what our chips do, is allow the bodies to do what they were meant to do, and that's not going to happen tonight. And it's really sad that it's not. But you guys out there have to decide for yourself. Our body of work at S.W.A speaks for itself. These young men at Alabama have done absolutely nothing wrong but sit down and listen to me and use their God-given brain to decipher this information. They know their bodies. They know what it does for their body. And they have gotten on board with this. And we're hoping that all the haters out there will see this, and we challenge you guys to prove us wrong. We have done everything we can possibly do to prove that it's real, so we're asking you guys, prove us wrong. You know, there's so many young men out there and women that have thesis to write, and they would love to do a double-blind placebo studies to prove that this does not work. So do it. You know, quit saying it doesn't work and it's not real. Do the research on your end, and then prove to us at S.W.A it's not real. Prove to us at S.W.A that it's just in these young men's heads. And the other challenge I put out there is the people are saying there's anabolic steroids. You know, Coach Moffitt telling these young men that there's anabolic steroids in this. Prove to us that there is. It's not real hard to analyze this and prove that our technology has anabolic steroids. So I challenge you guys out there to do your homework and do the test to prove what SWAT's is all about. And that closing of SWAT's all about, we're about athletes competing without cheating. Allowing athletes to compete without using drugs, without using chemicals, and without having to have surgery. And we began to do that on a very large scale. And because of that, I believe that's why we're being so attacked from all ends. And we just want to help people. And again, allow these athletes to compete without having to use the anabolic steroids and all the other things out there that we know affect the human body very negatively. So the outcome to this will be very interesting. And the proof's in the pudding, and you guys will see what happens. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, guys. This is Christopher Key with SWAT, out.